Hey, 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 everybody. Happy Friday to you. It is Peter and Sal here from Strong Healthy Women, and welcome to Talking Wellbeing TV, where we share hints, tips, and advice about the foundations of well-being. How are you today, Sal?
Zenning this afternoon. I am zenning.
The technical gods are not playing well with us. We had some issues last week. I had some issues. Now Sal's got them. So anyway, that's okay. We're just rolling with it because that's what you do, because you can't change it. You can't change it.
No.
We Sal, on Wednesday, we were talking about some reasons that might play out as to why you might not get started with an exercise program. And we talked about time, we talked about motivation, we talked about injuries, and we talked about feeling sore afterwards. Today I wanted to start off by talking about comparison. So I know for me personally, I'm not the same person that I was in my 20s or 30s. So I'm definitely not the same person. And my fitness is not the same as it was in my 20s and 30s. And to be honest, my fitness now, almost 60, is better than what it was in my 20s and 30s. So there's a little bit of honesty, because I never started in this until later in my life. I was in my 40s when I started working out. So yeah, so it's a very different thing. But for many of us, we may have started working out when we were in our younger years, playing sports, in our teen years, and then going into different fitness routines in our 20s and 30s. And then when we get to these later years, and life has just thrown so many things at us, what can happen is that we haven't had time to put ourselves first. And then when we go to do something, when we take that first step, we go, hang on a minute, this isn't going to work because I can't do it because I'm not as fit as I was. And so that can stop us in our tracks, because straight away we go, I need to get fit before I can get fit, which is, a little bit strange really, because it just stops us from taking those steps. And we're playing this comparison game. We're comparing what we were like when we were younger. Okay, so I know that you are someone who has always been involved in sport at a young age, and through in your teens, etc., into your 20s, and you have been that person who's been relatively fit and healthy over the years. And then life's got in the road. You've had some, personal issues playing out in your life, and that stopped you from, looking after yourself as you would have done in the past. And so getting that recommit to it, did you go through this comparison game at all?
Probably not so much as the comparison game as it's hard. How do I put it? Probably not. Well, yeah, maybe. I was comparing what I should be doing now to what I was doing 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And that
Okay.
wasn't working. Because as you said, I was a completely different person. My body had changed in 10 years, in that 10-year period.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was very, and not that it stopped me, but it was emotional. I felt like that I was letting myself down every time I started, because it wasn't happening the way it did 10 years ago type thing. So, then it was the whole, why bother attitude.
So it stopped you from actually starting?
No, it didn't stop me from starting. I stopped and started,
Mm-hmm.
So it was a stop, start, stop, start, stop, start.
Right.
Yeah. It wasn't consistent. I didn't start and then have that consistency happening.
I know, like recently you had an injury, your back.
Yes.
So you've had something go on with your quad, you've had something go on with your back. Now that played out in a different way because I know that you had said to me a few times, I should be able to do this. But there was that limitation because you had that injury or that pain that was happening. So, and that in itself is a little bit of a comparison because you're comparing when you're not injured or you haven't got some type of soreness to when you actually have them, and there are those limitations. So again, how did that feel? Like, what was the emotional roller coaster that you had with that?
It was very, there was a day there when it was just, I couldn't get off the couch and I was crying and I knew, I had to do my sessions, and it was just frustration and sadness and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do what I was supposed to be doing. I couldn't do what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah, so frustration more than anything. I'm wondering if there's anybody out there who's listening today and they are sitting there and they're comparing, what they were like in their 20s and 30s and what they're like now, and that's stopping them from getting that motivation to get started with an exercise program. I'm wondering how they're feeling. So I'd love for you to, just post below and say what the emotion is for you. Is it the fear? Is it the disappointment? Is it the frustration? I can imagine that there would be a lot of different emotions associated with that. So, which is really, really another deterrent as well too, because when we can get emotional when we're not feeling our best, that can also stop us, because you mentioned that. You said, well, it's like, well, why bother? And that type of attitude will come into it as well. Yeah.
Because you're having that stop-start happening, I know with my back, that I think there was like 2 days in a row that I could barely move and it was just so painful.
Yeah.
And then, the third day was good. So I would do something. And then the fourth day it was sore again. So it was like,
yeah.
And it's that whole stopping and starting and stopping and starting. And it's like, what, why continue? Why bother? But, in saying that, I've not had any issues for 4 months, I guess.
Touch wood. Touch wood. Yeah, that's
I've had
exactly
that
right.
sort of day that I'll probably have a sore back tonight. No.
Yeah, so, and I think that leads really nicely into the other reason that can stop it as well too, which is a really big topic, which is knowing our why. So if we're in that stop-start mode and that motivation, that reason for why we're wanting to be healthy and fit isn't there, in the forefront of our mind, and it's not something that we're really, really connected with, then what happens is we might just stop. We might not do the stop-start thing. We might just stop entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so knowing your why, I think, is the number one thing. I know that I always talk about your why, and I know that when we're doing, our transformation program, or when we're having someone new start, I always say, okay, what's the reasons, and here's what I want you to do. So do you want to just delve into a little bit about why you exercise and why you eat healthy? What's your motivating factor?
10 years ago, I had well, not 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 16 years ago, I had my last child. He's going into
Yeah.
grade 11 next year. And I hit 96 kilos.
Yeah.
So, and the reason I'm going to talk about this is because I want everybody to understand how our lives do change. So,
Yeah,
you
they
know,
do.
I hit 96 kilos and it was like, wow, this is just crazy, you know, and I had never been, you know, I had never been over 60 kilos. And so it started off with eating healthy. And I had done another program. This was, you know, way before Strong Healthy Women. I'd done another eating program, and then we moved into regional Queensland, and that program wasn't available. So I had everything, you know, in books. And so then I just started walking. And then we moved back down here, and the walking turned into running or interval training, running and walking. And then I needed that little bit more because that's what my body was telling me. I just felt it. It wasn't something in my head. I felt it. I needed something more. So that's when I started strength training. And so I got down to my goal weight. And then, as you said, you know, over the past 5 years, life has changed. And things started happening. And in the last 12 months, it hasn't been about that. It hasn't been about the weight so much as I now need to feel better, you know, because I'm, you know, I was walking this morning with my daughter and I've gone, oh, my hip's sore, you know. My grandma used to say, oh, my hip's sore. But that's where I'm at in life now. And I've got to, that's what I've accepted, you know, this is where I'm at in life, you know. I have to protect my organs, you know, because there's heart conditions in our family.
Yes, yep.
You know, my sister, I've discussed my sister before, you know, it goes back to my aunts, uncles, grandparents, my father. His was heart and lung condition. So now that's coming into, for me, it's about preventing those diseases or conditions happening. And I'm going through menopause, so there's something else on top of it. I need to start sleeping better. You know, I talk about this all the time, you know, 5-6 months ago, you know, there was 2 days there where I had 4 hours sleep, you know, so it's about keeping my mind sharp. So in this 15-year period, my whole life and attitude, my life has changed, and my attitude towards why I want to stay fit and healthy has changed. And it's gone from those numbers and the way I wanted to look to how I need to feel. I want to feel not achy and sore, and I want to being able to move, you know, because yes, I'm 50, but in my head, I'm still, you know, 38, 40. I don't feel 50. And I think that's one of my biggest whys now, you know, so the whole switch, my why has changed over these past years. And I think that's, you know, I think these days too, our age is a number because a lot of us are a lot younger than what that birth date on our certificate says. Our attitude and our thinking and all that's what we do. You know, I look at my grandparents. You know, when my grandma was 60 and I look at people, you know, I'm 10 years off being 60.
Yep.
You know, and that's what you look at now. Yeah.
Yeah, look, we did die a lot younger back years ago as well too, so we didn't see the older ages that we're actually now seeing. And I also believe that we are now more conscious of being healthier and fitter as well too.
Because we know they're preventable diseases, I think.
Yeah, we do. But for some of us, we might also go, well, I've got it, so therefore I can't change it. So why bother as well too? So it does come down to how you see things, the chatter that you have in your head going on. So whether you see it from a negative perspective or whether you see it from a positive perspective, whether you see it as an opportunity to make changes or whether you see it as an obstacle and you're just going to allow that obstacle to stop you from making a change. You know, I'm very focused on not having preventable diseases that are rife in the females in my family. And so I don't want those. And if I was following my family history, I would have had them at least 20, 25 years ago now, based on my mother. And I don't know that I'll hold it off because, you know, there is that degree of genetics that play out as well too. But I have changed my lifestyle somewhat over the years, and in some instances that was a subconscious decision rather than a conscious decision. Now it's more conscious. So, and it was just by accident that I was doing things. But so even though I don't want those preventable diseases, I still in my head have this goal that, you know, I'm still going to be wearing a bikini in my 60s. So, you know, that again comes down to how I feel. So, and I think when you can tap into that source, so you need to understand all of those other things, other parameters around it. But when you can tap into the source of how you feel, so if you can really, really investigate, how am I feeling now? What are the things that I can't do? You know, am I waking up with a sore back? Am I walking and now I have a sore hip? Am you know, are my arms getting sore when I'm cleaning the toilet? You know, from scrubbing. So when you can identify all of those types of feelings that you're having and you can flip it into feeling better, and you can focus on how that feels in your body, that's a really, really powerful way to keep yourself motivated as well too. And we often say that to ladies when they're exercising, how are you feeling? And, you know, they'll say energized or strong, or, you know, there were a lot of words come out. I think we've had something like about 100 people, maybe even 200 people respond to that question when we asked it. And so that feeling is what you want to focus on. So what is the feeling that I want? And what does that mean that I can do? So I actually discovered the other day that I really don't need my grandkids to go to the park to play in the park. I actually just like going to the park because it makes me feel like a young child again. I love the flying fox. I love climbing up all the ropes and coming down all those loopy slides that they have, and I love the swings going really high. That it's just that absolute freedom that you have when you do it, and you feel young in yourself, and that's so powerful. But so many times we'll wait till we have our kids or our grandkids with us to go and do those things. But, you know, I must admit I do it very early in the morning when there's nobody else in the parks, except for the council workers who are cleaning up, and they laugh at me playing. And they've got used to me being there at 6 a.m. in the morning, but that's okay too. So yeah, I like that idea of capturing how do you want to feel as your why. I think that's very powerful.
Definitely.
Yeah. I also think, like, one of the other things that we have the ladies do is to write down 10 reasons why it's important to them.
Yes.
we'll see things like, I want to be strong, I want to be fit, I want to be flexible, I want to lose weight, blah, blah, blah. All of those standard things come out when you write down those 10 reasons. But we say don't stop at that first day. You need to go to the second, third, and fourth and fifth day. So you've got 50 reasons. So when you look at those 50 reasons, then you can really, really see what the patterns are, what the real reasons are, and what the real motivating why is as well too. So I know for Anne's motivating reason when you started to break it down was she wanted to live an independent life in her older age. Mind you, she's already, like in her mid to late 70s. So she's already in that, what we call senior stage. But she also wanted to be able to do gymnastics with her granddaughter. And, when you see her doing things, that she can do, those stands and whatever else. And she can also, she said what she also wants to do is be alive to go to their weddings, but she also wants to dance at that wedding.
Yeah.
That's a feeling, isn't it? A feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I particularly honed in on that when I read that she had written it down. I went, I love dancing. I love how it makes me feel. And so it's so true when you can tap into the feeling of why this is important to you. It will give you the courage to take that step forward. And I think that's a fantastic thing.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing too with comparing and talking about comparisons, and not only talking about comparisons with yourself and how you were, however many years ago or how you are now.
Yeah.
Don't compare yourself to the next person beside you either, or that person that's running down the street, or that person that you see, walking into the gym every day, or that person that, that you're admiring on the internet. Don't compare yourself to them either, because you have to remember that they also took that first step.
Yeah. Yeah, that's brilliant. I think, finding someone who's an inspiration for you is a good thing, but you don't have to be them either.
No.
So they can be that inspiration for you, but you're not them, you're you. And the you that you are is who you should be.
Yes, absolutely. And remember, in a week's time, in 4 weeks' time, in a year's time, it could be you that is inspiring one of your friends to take that first step, because they've seen how amazing you've done.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. One of our ladies, Sal, who's just come off of the 28-day Fueled Up transformation, and she said, okay, so she's finished week 1, she's going into week 2. We've got partway through week 2, and she said, I've got this, business team building thing or conference or whatever it was that I've got to go do, and I want to stay on track. How can I handle this? And we gave her some tips along the way, and she was really good. She prepped a lot of things, and she actually made comment, which I love. She was making her meals because they were in a hotel room or an apartment, and as she was making them, the ladies that she was bunking with, they've said to her, oh, that looks really nice. And she said, yeah. And I think they may have had a taste. I can't really remember for sure. And they've gone, wow, that's nice. And that's like diet food. And she said, yeah, well, it's not really. It's healthy eating. And, they started to say, oh, when does the next one start? Like, when can we start doing this? Because we can see how much you've changed in just that small amount of time. And so, yes, she's an inspiration, not just in how she is physically feeling and seeing, but she's actually displaying that as well too. She's showing them how it's done. And that's a wonderful thing, is that you never know who's watching. yeah, that you can inspire as well. Yeah,
Yes.
totally. Any final tips from you, Sel?
I was just going to go back to your 50 reasons why I started this.
Yeah.
And do your 50 reasons why to take that first step, ladies. But I started doing mine again about 2 weeks ago. And I'm thinking, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, how am I going to get to 50 reasons? And
Yeah.
so one of the things I have done, and I just thought I'd share this tip with everybody. Let me find them. I'll be super quick, girls. So one of the things I have done is, so if I have that first, so my first reason on my list was to feel better. So then I've broken that down into two whys. So I've gone, okay, to feel better.
Yeah.
So my second why is to strengthen my leg where my quad was torn and to strengthen my hip. So then another one was, and I'll share this one. So I wanted to lose my belly. And so I've broken that down even further because I want to put my shoes on easier without it being a workout. I want to feel better in my clothes. So from I want to feel better in my clothes, I want to stop my tights rolling down. So this is where I'm breaking it down, you know. I want to do things with my kids, you know. I want to go walking with Georgia. I want to go to the beach with Olivia. I want to go on day trips with all three of my kids. So if you do struggle to get those 50 reasons why, go back to the reasons you have and break them down even further. I just thought I'd share that.
Good tip. The other thing is that what you can do is as you're writing them down, you can actually start to double up. So you've really got to be looking at your list to see what you've already written down. Yeah, because you might not actually end up with the 50. So you might think it's a new one, but it's not really a new one. Yeah, it certainly is. It's a very stretching exercise to do. It takes you out of your comfort zone a little bit. But what it does do is it gives you the power. It gives you the motivation to take that step. And that's what it's about, is taking that first step to getting started.
Yes.
Good way to finish, Sel. So we have this free guide, which is the Beginner Quick Start Exercise Guide. It looks very pretty in colour. And so we put the link up there, ladies, so that you can click on that and actually, have a look at the 7 reasons that we've come up with, the top 7 reasons that we hear quite often as to why people don't get started, and it gives you some ideas about how you can break those down. It also talks about exercise, why it's important, and there's a 14-day workout in here as well too, but we've taken it one step further as well too. So we are giving away 2 free weeks starting on Monday the 19th. So all you need to do is click on the link in the guide or click on the link here, organize your 2 free weeks. We will organize a Zoom call with you to have a chat with you and find out, you know, some of those reasons that we're talking about today, some of those whys, and help you get started. And don't be scared if you have aches, pains, or injuries. We have lots of alternate exercises for everyone who is suffering from something at this point as well too. Yes. So thanks for joining me today, Sel.
You're very welcome. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you. All right, ladies, take care.
Smile on for the rest of the Friday.
We shall see you all on Sunday for the weekly wrap-up. See you, girls.
Yes.
Bye. Bye, Sel.
Bye, Peter.
Bye. See ya.